All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today. We are going to be covering the CMAs today. And I'm gonna have Nick take it away.
All right, are you gonna transfer to me?
Yes. There you go.
All right, I am the host. Let me go back to PMZ Plus. Has anybody used the PMZ Plus CMA yet? You guys can put it in the chat box, but I'm going to show you real quickly how to get there. And then I'm not going to walk you through the whole CMA, but we'll do a little bit. So let's just start here. If you click on the agent tools, you see right here, you have the client presenter creator. We did this like 4 or 5 Tipsy Thursdays ago. And then right underneath it, there's the Homework CMA for PMZ.com emails. You can see that I have created a few from back in the day to practice on them. I re-edited one right here on top. So we'll just go ahead and pull it up. This is the view the finished CMA report. We can resend it and I'll show you, but we can also create an updated version of this CMA just to show you how to walk. Yes.
Excuse me, we don't see this. I don't see the screen that you're showing.
Does anybody see the screen or no?
Yeah, I see it.
So Dan, in the upper right-hand corner, do you just see a whole picture of a face?
Yes, of all faces.
Yeah, so click the 3 little buttons and it should show you how to display. If I'm not mistaken, that should work. And
so
then
I
you
see
should
gallery and speaker or exit full screen. Okay, I've got it now, I think.
Perfect. So I'll just start real quick again. So on the PMZ Plus home screen, your first button is Agent Tools. Under Contact and Client Management, you have a Homeworth CMA, and you can click on that. The one we're working on right now, we're viewing it. This was created 1 minute ago. I'm doing this one specifically on my house. So when you start a new CMA, it's going to ask you to, oh, didn't mean to edit that one. So this is where you're going to use this address, right? So I have already typed in my personal address. When you don't have these, it's going to ask for the address of the CMA. You're going to want to click the address that's most like it. This is my entire street and there's different options for it, but I'm just going to use my personal address. And then you update the property. You're going to choose how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms and square footage, the approximate age of the home, lot size, pool or not, and then stories. And then you're going to click here to find matching properties. It's going to bring up, you have a maximum of 30 and it's going to bring up.
It's not showing that, Nick.
Yeah, there's a.
Oh, because it went into a new window.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep having to switch it.
If you do desktop, then you won't have that issue.
Okay, click desktop one.
Yeah.
Do you have it now?
We do.
Okay, so there's the CMA property comparison. Let me go back because you guys probably missed all that. So from Agent Tools, you guys got to this part with the address. Did everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't have an address, it's going to type in and then it's going to let you know, and you're going to want to click on an address. When you click use this address, it's going to run comparables for you, or it's going to run the property information for you first. So you're going to want to say how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and the size, home age, lot size. This is going to help you pick matching properties. The next screen that comes up, you get to choose how you want your CMA to be. So for example, since this house is 3,700 square feet, I'm not going to want a home under 2,500 square feet. It just isn't a comparable. And I'm not going to want one much bigger than 4,250 square feet because that would give me enough comparables. If you see right now, it only gives me 30. And a lot of these, an 1,150 square foot home is not comparable to a 4,000 square foot one, right? So we're not going to want to have that. Lot size, since this is a decent size lot, we want to get to a half acre, an acre, maybe one that's a little bigger. This is a 2-story home. I don't care about low list price and high list price. I'll go within a half mile. Let's go solds for the last 9 months and any expireds for the last 3. And then you just click search. And now it's going to update. Now I don't have enough here, right? So I'm going to click any stories and see if that changes. There. Now I have more comparables. If I want even more comparables, like say, you know, I don't think this is enough, I can start playing around with these numbers real quickly to make sure I get more inside of there, right? Because our goal here is to be able to show enough information to the client to help make a decision and how we make different adjustments to it. So there's one active property that happens to be Miss Tina's, and we'll use that because we want to show what active properties there are. And then we can go through the current solds. Now see, this one right here is 2,200 square feet and it sold for $495. I may or may not want to include that one because it is over 1,000 square feet smaller. You'll have to make your own personal decision on whether or not you want to bring that one in. But in this case, let's just say we want to select all, and we're going to click here to view the selected properties. And then as we go through, so here's the active one, and we can make any comments about it, right? So for example, we can say, if we have looked at the pictures on the MLS or something along those lines, we can say original flooring, lots of stairs, I can spell, and had a price reduction 2 weeks ago, right? On this one, we can say, well, actually, I think PMZ sold this one as well, both sides. We can say on this one, it was actually very dated and had a garage conversion, right? I can't even spell today. Garage. Okay, so I can make any notes I want as we go through this. You can start typing them, look at what sold, what happened, and make your comments on each one. For example, like this one sold for $815, Riverview. By the way, PMZ did both sides of that one. I'm glad we own my neighborhood. Going through each one, you get to make whatever comments you want about each home and whether or not you're going to make your adjustments. So here we're going to pause for a minute and talk about adjustments, because I know that was one of the reasons that this was brought up. And for my neighborhood specifically, you have to make some adjustments for very specific reasons. For example, this property at 6924 Arrowwood Drive, it has river views, like it is on the river. So there is no rear neighbors and it looks up and down the river. Absolutely one of the most stunning views you're going to get in a city like Modesto. That's going to raise the value of the home. Now, there were other reasons why the home had what it had and why it took so long to sell, but you have to make those adjustments. So, and I'm going to just ask, we'll talk about how we get there, but what would you say a river view would you add to a value of a home? This is the participatory part where everyone gets to talk too.
50,000.
50,000, that's a pretty good number. How'd you come up with it?
A nice round number, and I didn't want to go to 100.
All right. Hey, there's solid reasoning there. Anyone else?
Does it matter the view, whether it's a river or a man-made lake? Or is
I
it
don't
just
think
water
it would.
view?
I think water is what matters more, but
Okay.
it depends on like access, for example, might change it.
Okay,
So I think 50,000 might be a little high for a river view. For this price point, I also think all upgrades or all changes are going to be contingent on the average sales price. So for example, in the $300,000 price point, a big lot or a good view may only add 10%. But if you go to $1 million and you add 10%, now we're at that 100 grand, right? So it's going to be more in a percentage of what you add based on what the property is coming with, unless it's an extenuating circumstance, like a yard that cost $500,000 to put in. Like this one right here at 2209 Cedarwood, it's got like a lazy river pool with a koi pond that goes into it. Like they overspent. So they'll get a little bit bigger bump for the pool. Not a normal $10,000 or $15,000. They may get 30 to 50 because they went above and beyond, but they're not going to get all their money back that they spent, right? You put the pool in for your family, not to resell it. That being said, you will get some bumps for it, but you're not getting all your money back. Are there questions on that part? So I would say all water views are the same. If you have access or private dock to water, I think it would increase the value of it, but it's going to be relative. This is where comparables of other solds are going to come into play really, really well. If you have 3 river views that sold and they all were about 10 or 15% higher, then the math is easy, you know, add 15% to whatever you think the average sales price is. If they fluctuate, then it's going to depend on how updated they are, the current market stats. You'll have to actually do some research. Sometimes photos get deleted. You may have to make some calls to agents, because when you get into specific areas where one has river views and ones don't, this is where Zillow and all those dumb websites steer our clients wrong. Because all they do is they take all the solds, do the whole math and say, oh, this house is worth $900,000. It's like, well, you included 2 homes that had river views and this one doesn't. It's not going to get the full 900. We need to take that into consideration. But you just want to type as many comments as you can. Now, that being said, if one has a river view, but it's completely dated, what would you do for your pricing on that?
I think it'd be kind of a wash, because if it's completely dated and has no upgrades, then you wouldn't really necessarily be able to add any value. But since it has the river view, that adds the value, so then it kind of negates itself.
Right. So the question is, all homes are going to sell in a range, right? There's no one fixed price for a home. So how well we do as agents can help get something inside that range. So you would look at, like, for example, if this home has a river view, oh, I'm going to give it a 10% bump in sales price. But it's like, well, this home also is dated. It was last remodeled in the 80s. It needs all these upgrades. That might be a 10 or a 15% decline in price point, because how much money are they going to have to spend? So for example, on this one right here that we were talking about, if you have to remodel a 3,827 square foot home, that's going to cost a little bit of money, because that's a big house. That's a lot of materials. That's a bigger remodel. And if it hasn't been remodeled since the 80s, then you have to start considering what that's going to cost and what it's going to do. So you start going through in each of these. This is where you have to do your research to type in your comments of where you're making your adjustments. Like this one sold for $850. It had a above the normal backyard. This one sold for I can't see where the price here, I'm going too fast, another $850,000. This was 3,000 square feet, half acre. And again, if you know the neighborhood, this one's on Park Ridge. It has its own water. It's not connected to city. This one is connected to city because it's on Cedarwood. So you start to know the little nuances of the neighborhood, and you're going to make your little minor adjustments on how you would update the client. Because what's going to happen when you sit down and you hand your client the sold and say, hey, now it's time. Thank you for choosing me as your listing agent. Now together, we're going to decide what we should list the home for. Here, I'm going to hand you, here's the active property, and here's all the solds. They're going to ask you questions, and you have to be really prepared to not make fun of their neighbors, because they're going to say, oh, you know, I remember when Dave sold his house 3 months ago, he told me he had 840,000. And it's like, well, Dave might have had a contract for 840,000, but after negotiations in the middle of escrow, the actual sold price was 815. And if you read the comments on this one, there was actually a $13,000 credit to the buyer for pest work and things that needed to be done. So the actual sold sales price of this home is going to be 802,000. So I would put in there Riverview actual sold price 802. Shouldn't put a period because that's $802. Because that would change what a seller would assume their home is worth. If they're like, look, my house is better than Dave's. I know he has the river view, but mine's fully remodeled. I agree with you. However, what Dave didn't tell you is his home actually sold for 802,000, not 815. And even though he actually went into contract at 840, he accepted $38,000 less, which the appraiser is going to see. So that helps the conversation. Like, I'm just purveying the information to you. I'm not, I'm a conduit. I'm not the reason. And you would go through each of these homes and make your adjustments so that way you can have the conversation. So then we'll click save the CMA, and then we're going to send it to ourselves. Because, you know, I like to introduce myself to myself. And then let's go back to my CMA list and let's view it. All right, can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Just want to make sure. So here's the information that they're going to get. They're going to see the average list price. The high was 789, the low was 600,000. The highest sales price was 810. The lowest sales price was 638. So the average list price in this neighborhood is 681,000. The average sales price is 701. And then you can see the sold, the list price average per square foot. Days on market still relatively low. Lot sizes are all similar. The price per square foot ranges from the small one or the large ones being in the low twos to the small ones being in the high twos. Are there questions on this so far, on what these numbers mean and where to get them, where I got them? Just want to make sure. I lost my chat box somewhere, so Alondra, interrupt me if you need
So
to.
I have a question, Nick.
Yes.
You were just talking about list price versus sale price. So when you're looking to list a home and these are your comps, are you looking still at the list price, even though most of them sold for more, or it looks like they all sold for more? Or do you look at the sales price and use that as your list price comparison?
I definitely look at the list price to sales price, because as you can see, there's a couple here that did go way over. So
Right.
list price of 599, sales price of 650, list price of 749, sales price of 760. But most of them, 789 to 810, most of them actually weren't higher. So, well, actually every single one of
They
them
were
was
all
higher.
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, every single one. They didn't start that way. So I
Right.
actually would have added that to my notes. So for example, the one that sold for that we sold for 810, they originally listed at 1.125, and after price reductions, they cut it down to get that sales price up. So I would let them know. They also started at 1.125 and came down to 789 and settled on the 815.
Okay.
But I mean, list price is just a suggestion.
Right.
And it would also help the conversation if they're like, well, if they're all selling that high, let's just shoot super high. And then we have to have the evidence to say, well, the one person who did ended up coming down to 789. Most of these people, you want to be just underneath what it is so we can get the most amount of traffic in the shortest amount of time, and then hopefully push your sales price up. Especially with interest rates ticking up, we don't want to be sitting there in 3 weeks saying, how do we get people in? We'd rather be saying, how do we move offers even higher based on what we have?
Got it.
I can't negotiate with something that isn't written. So let's get it written first and then negotiate.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Anything else? Great question. Thoughts, Susan? Love it. So obviously, if there's pictures, they're going to be here.
Is that because they were taken off of the MLS?
Actually, 2 of these. So I know Leslie's not here, but she sold one of these off market.
Okay.
And they just put it in the MLS for statistics. It was Susie Chetron, and Leslie sold one off market. And so they put it in the MLS. It was 0 days on market. And I think it was Raintree. No, I don't know where it is on here. But it was one of them was sold off market. They just put in the MLS. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So here's one of the canceled ones. See, it was at 925.
Where are the notes that you were just typing out?
They're actually in the full email when you click on each property. They get, if you email this, it has it, and then your agent notes are, I didn't write any on this one. Sorry. Which one did I write notes on?
The
That's
Riverview.
canceled. Yeah, I'm not seeing the sold Riverview one in this yet. This is not the one I wrote notes on. I have to click on a different one. So let's go back to my CMA list. This is the one I just did, right? Boom. Yes. Sorry, that was a really old one. So here's my notes. Dated and had a garage conversion. Riverview, actual sold price 802 after credits. Do you see the notes there now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that other one I opened on was one I did a long time ago. That actually wasn't one of the ones we did. So if we go back to here, now you see the high, low, list price, sales price, and then the one active. So this is the one I just updated 10 minutes ago. That last one I think was from last year. Sorry. When I first did this. So now you can see the list price, the sales price is not all of them at 100%. We have 95, 96, 97, 90, and then 2, 104, and 103. So now the average list price, you can see that actually just having that old CMA in this one is actually really good statistics. The last one said everything was at listing at 670 and selling for 780. Now we have everyone's listing on average 722 and selling at 704. So that would be a good little conversation to have with them. See what happens when you start pushing your list price too high. Your sales price stays the same, and it takes you a little bit longer to get that money. So then I'm going to go through this and let them know exactly what, original flooring, lots upstairs had a price reduction 2 weeks ago. This one sold, dated, had a garage conversion. And I would go through each one with them and tell them based on your home compared to this one. This is when knowing what the homes are like, what they're doing, all of that is actually going to help you in that conversation. And then you can print this out. I think this should be separate from your listing presentation, right? The listing presentation is why you should hire me, right? So when you sit down for your listing presentation, like for the last 5 minutes, this is essentially how I would present it to a client. Say, thank you so much for inviting me out to your home. I really am excited that we get to work together. Essentially, you have two decisions. One, the agent that you're going to hire. Once you make that decision, then you and that agent together need to decide what you're going to market the home for, since an agent doesn't get to pick price. You don't want to be the one that's attached to the price of the home. So then you go through and say, after you've done the whole listing presentation, say, are you ready to get to work? And we can go over the numbers. They'll say, yes, have a listing agreement ready, and say, okay, I've printed out all the numbers. Let's go through it together. I've actually looked at every home, toured a few of these. Let me show you what the market is doing in your area. And you bring up all of these solds, and you can point them out and say, I drove by, talked to this, I called this agent. The more research you do, the more confident you sound, regardless of how long you've been in. And you can have a real conversation about pricing. And then I would have this separate from the listing presentation. If they want to think about it, say, fantastic, I appreciate that. I, for one, don't leave it. I take my notes with me. If they say, oh, I'd love to hold on to them, I'm not going to argue. I'll say, sure, let me email them to you, because I want to keep my notes for when we actually do work together. I don't want to miss anything. I keep it all in file, so I'll email it to you when I get back to the office. That way I have the ability to contact them again, and I'm not giving another agent evidence to use against me. Any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, or how to do this CMA inside PMZ Plus? I can't see the chat box, so that's on you, Alondra, to let me know.
Nothing's on the chat box
All right.
now. How many would you say is too many homes to include?
More than 15, you're going crazy. You're probably including homes that aren't comparable. If you think about it, an appraiser only has to get 6, so you shouldn't be doing many more than that. You're going to want to have the most apples to apples comparison. Like, this home is the closest to yours, and then be able to make the adjustments. So for my home specifically, the closest one is that Riverview. We're both 4,000 square feet. We're both literally, we're 7 houses apart. I don't have the Riverview, they do. Now, my house is more updated, so I would make adjustments back and forth to say, this is your apples to apples comparison that an appraiser is going to use. Now, they're going to give them extra money because they have a Riverview that you don't. Now, you have a pool and they don't. You have updated kitchen, they don't. You have this. And so you make those little adjustments to say, if they sold at 815, that would probably be my list price that I would suggest for my own home based on the comparables. They sold at 815, even though they got 802. The market has gone up since they sold that house. Interest rates have slowed it a little bit, but you have the pool, you have the larger yard, you have more of a family-friendly home, and you're updated. So let's start at 815 and then reassess in 3 weeks. That's how I would play it to myself. Question.
Nick, I have a question. This is Dan.
Absolutely, Dan, go ahead.
You gave an excellent statement when you meet with the clients, 2 decisions to make. Could you repeat that, please, a little slower?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know about slow. Let me try. I have 4 shots of coffee every day.
That's asking a lot from Nick.
Yes. Okay. So we have 2 decisions to do today. And by the way, Dan, this is recorded, so you can watch this on YouTube and put me at half speed, just in case. So we have 2 decisions to make today. Number 1, the agent that you're going to hire. And then together, you guys are going to decide the price to market your home for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Too many agents or too many clients think that the agent picks the price. We need to remove that from the vernacular. You're picking an agent, and then together you're deciding what to market the home for.
And then a second question, this may be for Alondra, where I can find these on YouTube.
So it'll be on, if you look for our channel, so you can just search PMZ Real Estate on YouTube. There is a Tipsy Thursday playlist that you can find all the recorded Tipsy Thursdays we've done.
Thank you.
Nick, you just made a comment just before Dan asked Alondra that question. What was that again? Can you repeat that? Do you
What?
remember?
No.
No. All right. I think it was a question that Dan had asked you.
Oh, the comment about like the 2 decisions you have to make, or before that?
I don't know. Say, what are the 2 decisions?
That you have to pick an agent and then together you guys pick the price you're going to market your home.
Maybe that was it. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything else.
Well, after that, I had said that we have to remove from the vernacular that the agent is responsible for the pricing, that the agent is only responsible for getting you the most amount for the market. Agents don't pick price. And too many agents are attached to the CMA price and letting the client say, oh, I'm not going to hire you if you don't list it for $850. Well, you should hire me for my value, my marketing, my negotiation skills. We can try any price. That's your call. I may not agree with you, but I'm still going to work my hardest. But any agent who tells you they can do something another agent can in the terms of pricing is just lying to get a listing.
I agree.
And then-
I said that.
and then-
Go ahead.
So how I actually handle that objection to say, well, I understand an agent's willing to give you the highest price to get in the door, but let me ask you a question. Who's that serving, you or them? If the sign's out in the yard for 4 weeks and they get a ton of phone calls, but nobody comes in, I see how they can get new clients, but you have to keep your house extra clean every single day. You have to answer the phone for agents who don't show up because they don't like the price. You get stressed out while nothing's happening. However, that agent's getting a ton of lead calls. So again, who's that benefiting if you overprice the house, the agent or you? See, I care more about you. I don't care about my sign calls. I care about you. And then that just undercuts any agent right there who's going to list it. I'll list it for whatever you want. Yeah, they don't care about you. They want some sign calls. I want you to be in your next home. I want to help you achieve your dreams. Then I'll start hitting them with the ninja lines. Let's go.
I had that exact conversation with a listing. Yeah, so I agree completely.
All right. Any other questions? Anything we can help with before we go?
Nick, I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes, I can see who that is.
I think that was Kelly.
Yeah, I don't know how to, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Kelly.
Okay, the appraiser only has to get 6 comparisons, you said?
3 active, 3 sold, and then they do bring in 3 pending sometimes.
Okay, that was my question. So 3
Yeah.
active and then 3 sold.
Yep.
Okay.
But they always look for the most like kind property, and the other 5 properties are to support that one. So when I talk to I'll use for my listings. When I talk to somebody on a listing, I'll say, I like to show up to your home without pricing the first time because I want to show up as the market or an appraiser would. See, most agents are going to show up and already have a pre-printed price and walk around your house convincing themselves why they're right. I like to show up as an appraiser or a market would and walk through your home to see everything you have to find the most like property and then find all of the comparables that would match it.
Okay.
So then any agent who I'm competing against who shows up the very first time with a price on a piece of paper, that line hopefully sticks out and say, well, they showed up as an agent walking around convincing themselves why they're right. Nick wanted to get the best comparable for us.
Mhm. And then if you can't find like actives, close by, I mean, how far out would you go? And then if you can't find 3, would you just take the 1 or 2?
If I can't find any actives, I don't care. I
Yeah.
really only care about solds. So I'm
Right.
looking for a minimum of 3 solds, one very specific one that I can use to justify. But actives, I don't care. In
Okay.
most of your CMAs right now, you're not going to find many. I'm
Yeah.
surprised there's even one.
Yeah. Okay.
Solds is the most important.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I thought somebody else had one. I can stop sharing the screen now, see everybody in there. Well, all right. Alondra, do you have anything else for the good of the group?
I don't. I think we're good.
All right,
Thank
hopefully
you.
this was a good one for everybody.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
Have a good Thursday
We'll
and
see you
Friday,
again.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, have a good weekend. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.